PHAHAME, April 17, 2019. Beloved sisters and brothers of our common dream, in our one humanity, beyond our form, PHAHAME joins and presents itself to you in the unified heart of all cetaceans and sea peoples, to celebrate together what is given to you to see from everywhere. Thus, we, the peoples of the sea, resonate with you from the deepest depths of the abyss as well as from the most superficial of your oceans. We raise our song to your intimacy. More and more of you are revealing yourself, waking up, more and more of you are resonating with our song that is for you. Let us then celebrate together the end of the dreaming, the end of all illusions, and the end that is nothing more than the return to the initial moment. Silence. As I told you in my previous speech, we will celebrate on every occasion, whether on our oceans, or on your land even far from the oceans. We will resonate in you, beyond our form as well as over your form, in the same heart, in the same coronation. We are with you, having accompanied you in your dream, in your joys and in your sorrows. We have always been there, certainly perhaps in an invisible way for you. But today, no one can ignore it, from the moment your eyes turn to us, from the moment you travel your seas, but also your deserts. We are with you, we are purified in the same heart. We bring to you, in your flesh, the time of awakening, the time of proclamation. Rejoice, whatever it may be given to you to experience within you, as it happens everywhere on your lands. We fulfill the dream, we fulfill the prophecies that were only milestones set for your awakening, set for its moments. Silence. PHAHAME resonates in everyone with the same intensity. Each of you is totally capable of embracing us from now on. You just have to think of us, you just have to think of my name, you just have to be in nature. Whether on the waters or in the deserts, our call rang out, just before the event. Silence. We have been with you since the beginning of the dream. We accomplish what is. I repeat it again because it is important. Do not be alarmed by our deaths, do not be alarmed by our strandings, because they ultimately represent only the support we offer you in order to show you that everything that happens cannot be real and that the way you look at things, inside and outside, are only there to participate in the same celebration, the same joy. Little by little, you leave it, all your individual circumstances, and will be covered by the ineffable grace of rediscovering yourself in their entirety, whether through laughter or tears, whether through events of any kind, occurring in your bodies or in your life. Everything participates in the same miracle, everything participates in the same dance. Silence. Remember that we leave the dream plan voluntarily uncertain. We were called by you, we answered that call. Many of you have approached us in different ways for many years now, but today there is no more lack, no more tearing and no more difference. You are all called to what could be called the same becoming, to the same truth, and we are with you. Somewhere, by our presence as by our dead, we give you proof of your immortality, we give you proof of Agape's truth. A few months ago, we delivered to you the primordial song of creation, the source code. It is awakened in you what should be. We do not need to return to it, but simply, just like you, to embrace the totality of our common dream beyond any transition, as well as any feeling of suffering. Silence. The light covers everything, nothing can escape it. The lighting is and becomes more and more effective on your waking. Whatever the conditions in which this happens in you, remember, there is always, just behind it, the joy of rediscovering yourself. We are here for you, in full. And as you have been told, we are yet another moment of the dream, in that dream that seemed to stretch for such a long time, where despair was so present in so many of you who are already living the truth, but who have no way of manifesting it on the surface of this world. The cetacean people join me in this intervention from all over your lands, beyond my words of today, in a much broader way than what you had already perceived on our seas, on our approach, or even on your images, or through our songs. Accompaniment is soon no longer necessary, because we are anew as Uranus, far beyond any history and any circumstances. Silence. So yes, the whole cetacean people rejoice at every moment. We're rushing near your shores in an unusual way, but we can only question the reason for our presence, the reason for our effect, not to draw any consequences or conclusions, but rather to certify and assure you in what you are living, that it be in your dreams, which is the reality, that it be in the farrowing of everything that kept this world locked up, no longer on the subtle planes, but on the very dense and material plane of all your architectural works and all your philosophies and thoughts that have been distorted by certain groups. Remember that here too, living the fullness of this end of the dream will consist above all in embracing all the circumstances, in going through this, and in discovering the just after, or during, this truth, this joy is there. Whatever the reactions of your body or what may remain of your fears or consciousness, it soon makes no difference, it no longer makes any possibility of being deceived by any perception or thought whatsoever. There are countless of you, beyond any dreaded or expected event, to experience this change. This change is apparent in your streets, in your cities, where everyone's outlook changes, I would even say independently of beliefs or adherence to any culture, race, religion or thought, effectively translating into a form of unification, whatever the reluctance and whatever doubts many of you may still have. We also dare to ask you in what is to be lived and seen, not to be alarmed in any way by any image or feeling, but much more to accept and wait for the next moment, in order to verify its effects. Some of you cry, some of you laugh, depending on the circumstances, but this is only the last game, preparing the scene of the call. Preparing the call and the scene of the resurrection concerning all consciences and, as you may know, even without yet perhaps fully accepting it, the resolution of the dream of creation. There were happy moments, there were sad moments, there were moments of confinement, but be assured that everything was always written in advance and could only be traveled with the feeling of lack, with the feeling of having to do something, with the feeling sometimes of distance or feeling apart. But today, this is no longer the case. As Abba had announced, what was material, what was observable, what made sense, the conditions of your lives, whatever its aspects, are being replaced by this capacity for dreaming which is reality. Whatever information you receive from your nights, do not try to interpret it, because the explanation will come by itself from the moment you do not question the meaning of what you have been through during your nights, during your meditations, during your prayers, or during your visions. Just go through them, just accept them, just see the joy that is behind any dream. Little by little and you are more and more numerous, sometimes in such a brutal way, you notice that what affected you the day before is no longer present. Beyond everything you do between yourselves, concerning exchanges at any level, all this converges towards the same point, that of collective awakening, despite any appearance and despite any denial that you could still feed or maintain. You will notice at this very moment that there is no longer any difference, that everything is life, that everything is independent of any form or any world whatsoever. You have, and we have with you, traveled through all the dreams of creation. We have gone through, and you and we have gone through, all the possibilities, and we end up, as many mystics have already written on your earth for a very long time, considering and living that everything that makes sense is only an illusion that passes and is in no way the truth. Whatever happens in your country and whatever happens in your country, remember that if you embrace, you are free. This is not a promise, it is simply to be verified by yourself, and the intelligence of the light will demonstrate it to you in a gentle or shattering way, with the same effectiveness. Silence. we will be as close as possible to you, for the most affected countries, in order to wake you up in a way that is, I would say, faster and faster, and also more precise. Silence. Remember also the words of a great master who passed through this earth some time ago, to prepare for those moments, too, that you are now experiencing. Whoever wants to save his life will lose it. Whoever agrees to lose it, will find it. And in the end, there is nothing to lose, because the same life is promised to each of you. Gratitude and contentment will be your daily lot. You will then be in permanent adoration of the truth, beyond any posture of your body and any adherence to any dogma whatsoever, and it will spread very quickly, of course, perhaps in a slightly different way depending on where you are on earth, but the purpose will always be the same, the end of the dream. More and more of you are discovering whole parts of the truth every day, without any judgment, with great joy and ever greater certainty about what is already there. Do not be alarmed for any member of your family, do not be alarmed for any human being or for any conscience. Everything that is happening, even if it will sometimes seem extraordinary or impossible, is only the truth of love revealed and lived. Everything is only a pretext for this awakening. Do not judge anyone. Try as much as possible not to look for any causality in any event, whether it concerns your country or yourself, or any other country. Because everything participates, and you will see it in this dance and in the events themselves, there is a precise articulation, leaving no doubt for an ever-increasing number, without any vibratory preconditions or conscience, to the ineffable truth. Chaos only concerns illusion, it discovers the truth, it exposes it, and restores you to yourself. All you can still hold on to are only the consequences of your habits, are only the consequences, I would say, of the few pieces of suffering, a few pieces of attachment, for which you are neither responsible nor guilty, but which are simply what, for each of you, is very exactly what is to be lived, especially if you do not understand anything about it, and especially if you accept not to understand anything about it, but rather to live it. You have nothing to run from, you don't have to move, you have nothing to protect. Love is the ultimate protection, which is not encumbered by fears, postures or movements within your earth, but simply to be there, present, and to let yourself be guided by the intelligence of light. This will release all the more quickly the few tensions that you can feel individually, or the emotions that can manifest themselves in front of certain scenes, in front of certain usual elements of this world that only seek to preserve themselves and maintain a status quo. This is irrevocably over and will never be allowed again, no matter what the pictures tell you, no matter what our leaders tell you, no matter what your family, your brother, your sister, your husband, your child tell you. Remember that it is the quality of your embrace, not the words you say, that solves the equation, making it possible to move from dream to reality. You will see for yourselves, as has been announced by countless elders for many years, that there is no point in worrying about it, that there is no point in wanting to solve it by yourselves, but rather in verifying the magnificence of grace, of our song and of your presence, in any place of your body as well as of this world. We will invite you more and more, in the present moment, to the celebration, but also to let the truth blossom. Precisely, chaos is precisely the ultimate suffering, the ultimate oppositions and confrontations, which inevitably lead to the revelation of love. Silence. You do not have to worry about what those who still resist, in your family or at the state level, could do to try to silence your spontaneity, to silence your joy. In countless places and in countless ways, you no longer accept to be deceived and manipulated, and abused or enslaved in any way. We reaffirm it as ever. There is neither master, nor guru, nor God, there is only the consciousness and truth of this consciousness that appears as illusory as the reality of this world. We invite you to experience this joy, to not remember anything that can come up in you either, but to see it clearly as something that moves away and disappears. No matter how intense you feel, no matter what emotions may manifest themselves in what the spectacle of the world shows you to see, wherever you are, we will be there every moment. Many of you have tried to pronounce my name, like the word Agape, and you check for yourself that it is the truth that settles in your heart at that moment. Everything else is done by the intelligence of the light, does not depend on you or us, but simply on what has already been dreamed, lived and awakened in you. Silence. We accompany you at all times, no matter what you say, no matter what it seems to you to be true or not. You have nothing justify, we have nothing justify, but really and simply to celebrate our reunion. We have never left each other, despite the appearances of your living environment and our living environment, despite our so different sizes and constitutions. I told you, I repeat, we're yours, you are us. The waters from above have fertilized the waters from below in recent weeks. The waters from above descend to earth, regenerating the flooded lands in a way. Do not think of the activity of the elements as something terrible, but as something that participates at the end of your sleep. Silence. Don't worry about anyone, just let it happen. The best help you can give, even if everything is written down, is above all to embrace, to be there, whatever your state, whatever your country. And you will notice, if you remain calm, that everything that still affected you the day before, whether at the psychological level, or in the organization of your country and its society, will no longer be able to stand up against the intensity of the love that emanates from you, even if you do not feel it, even if it seems to you to live nothing of what countless human brothers and sisters are living and testifying, it no longer makes any difference. Grace is in action everywhere, the gift manifests itself everywhere, nothing can be the same as before, you already know that. Many of you are preparing, in both joy and sorrow, to mourn in a way that has no reason to be, because it is something that has never existed and has only had a time, even if the time, from the point of view of you, humans incarnated in these bodies, may have seemed to you so desperate and so long. All this will be swept away by the joy of your heart, all this is swept away by the intelligence of the light, and will leave no residue, no trauma or suffering. It is not about faith, it is not about hope, but simply about being who you are, in an eternal way. No appearance will be able to deceive you anymore, as soon as you accept even what may seem false at first sight and which will only appear to you as something that has woken you up, that has served you precisely as a trigger. Do not judge your tears, do not judge violence, do not judge joy, just observe. And this simple observation of yourself, beyond the images presented by this world, will leave less and less doubt about who you are, even before you speak of the end of the dream, will provide you with a form of stability that depends not on emotional or material ease, but simply on who you are. You discover freedom, you live it. You will soon experience it, for many of you, from the moment you see it for yourself. You go to the truth, from the moment you bring love to the forefront, whatever you feel like you lack it, from the moment you give priority to the thought of love, even without leaving it, love will be there very quickly, illuminating entire parts of the theater scene of this world, illuminating entire parts of your personality, allowing you, above all, to forgive yourselves, to grant forgiveness to one another. You don't need words, you don't need rituals, you just need to live it. Everything will abound in your inner life. Everything about the outside will no longer make sense, no matter how chaotic or where you are, the result will always be the same. This is already the case, but it will take on proportions that no one can ignore. No one will be able to say then that he did not know, from the moment of the event affecting your conscience. I am talking, of course, about a collective event. Silence. Many milestones have been set, as we have told you. Many events are happening everywhere, all over the world, whatever the causes, whatever the responsibilities, whatever the intentions, even. It makes no difference as to the purpose. You will find, moreover, if you have not already done so, a lack of interest in the things of this world, allowing you to be even more alive, or sometimes asking, not to flee, but to immerse yourself in what we call with you nature, which could not be altered in a form or way, whether by your cultures or your arrangements, buildings or societies. Freedom is the end of imprisonment, freedom is the end of the dream. Do not worry about any afterward, because by living what you are, you will see for yourself that there can be no vision at all, that there can be no interpretation according to your senses and reason, but what happens on earth is in you. Silence. Everything will become lighter and lighter, no matter how heavy what is being crossed, no matter how intense what may come to push you. It is never to make you fall, it is never to torture you, but simply it is the elements for each of you that allow you to leave the dream. Do not judge anyone, grant forgiveness to everyone, and first to yourself. This will be the only possible efficiency. There will be no other way to act than to accept the unacceptable, to accept the unlikely. Your night will be charged, for those who dream, with elements that are active beyond any understanding in your experience of tomorrow, whether through new perceptions, through different positioning of your psychology, your mind and your emotions, giving you the opportunity to clearly observe, after the first inner questions, that something wonderful is happening. You have become so used, within your humanity, to reacting and adapting to laws, societies and the rules of nature, you are still so much, not prisoners, but used to that. Just let it happen. Indeed, they do not need you, because you are much more than this character who makes and experiences, but you are, between each character, the binder of life, the binder of the one heart that frees from all attachment and contingency. This is happening at this very moment. You have countless testimonies of it, but you are also living it in every encounter you live in your universe and in your simplest life where, if you are attentive, you will see the smile bloom and the eyes shine with emotion by this shared love, by these attentions given and by the embrace you give. Don't make a difference, because there is no difference. I repeat, we are one, whatever we think we are dreaming of, beyond any situation and any interpretation. You can only realize it. It is realized without you. You occupy space, you occupy the void, you are nothing and you the whole, and it is now no longer just lived on the inner screen, but in all the circumstances of your lives. Through the slightest glance of the stranger you meet on the street, through the words you utter, whether with relatives or to answer anything in your lives, in even the most enclosed universes, in what until now seemed to be bullying you, you will find the evidence of who you are. In this I repeat, judge nothing. There is nothing to judge, because if you judge the other, you are only judging yourself, because there is no other, there is only you, in the unified heart. And this is the prerequisite for this ineffable joy. Silence. You will see countless changes, if not already made, with the number of events happening no matter what you do, and with the number of disappearances, disorders, illnesses, sadness or other emotions, without you having done anything. Because from the moment you actually stand still, from the moment you no longer only enter into embracing, but into acceptance, whatever the refusal of your head, whatever the suffering of your experience, or whatever its lightness, you will live only behind. All this does not hold and was only veils that had been laid in different circumstances, to avoid you fear or to confront you with it. The result is identical. There is only one heart, there is only you. Everything else is part of your dream, everything else is part of the collective dream. This has been played, in every possible way. Everything that is to come, according to you, has already come, is already achieved, above all, has already been experienced. That's how you wake up permanently, that's how we celebrate. Everything that happens every minute and from everywhere on earth and in the sky is there only to promote awakening with the greatest possible gentleness. Remember that sweetness is there, in your heart, it is in your eyes when you look with love, it is in your eyes when certain images pass through you and you do not stop them, they are in your smile. You manage to laugh at yourself, to smile at yourself, and you will see that this smile and laughter transform everything, even in those who can judge it ironic or inappropriate. You know that you are the truth in action because you live it, and that nothing can upset or divert you from what is essential, from what you have found. Don't lose patience, everyone reveals themselves at their own pace, at the most appropriate time. I would like to point out that for those of you who may still be living nothing, I remind you that the last ones will be the first, and you will see this very soon. Just be present, just be loving, and everything else is done from there, not from any interpretation or projection. If you accept his humble conditions, you will see for yourself that everything is already there. Doubt can no longer interfere, you will no longer be disturbed by the rules of society, by the functioning of your mind, by habits. Injuries will no longer be an obstacle, whatever the age and condition of your body, you are rediscovering yourself free of any damage related to age or life in this world, despite all appearances, despite the ultimate doubts or fears. All this is happening right now, you are countless people living it, so share and exchange, not only through written words and testimonies, but through the brightness of your smile, through the straightness of your eyes, through listening to what is happening. Do not refuse any help, give yourself totally and you find yourself. You have no other option, no matter what you say today, because it won't last very long. Whatever the refusal, whatever the adherence to this world, whatever it shows you to see, we can tell you that very soon, no one will be able to be fooled by what the dream really is. Silence. Of course, many of you can't explain it. There is no point in understanding it, but simply in living it. In the circumstances of your countries, your families, as well as your relationships, cooperation between you will become essential. You will give yourself to each other as never before. Beyond any membership of any community whatsoever, you will no longer be able to exclude anyone from your thoughts, your affections, your smiles, and your sorrows. You will be touched in your heart by this fire of the heart, by this radiance that comes out of your sacred heart. You are Christ in motion, there is nothing to do. You are Christ in action, you have no action to take, except to let the smile take your lips, to let tears flow from your eyes, to let sufferings escape on their own, by that grace of love, by that grace of the intelligence of light. Silence. All your eyes, all your glances will be penetrating, all that you touch will be transmuted. No one is superior to anyone, it's the same dream that ends. I told you, we have all traveled every possible path, every possible consciousness, we have dreamed to the infinity of worlds, from the densest to the most ethereal. Silence. Everything you know, everything you have experienced and lived, even just yesterday, will no longer be of the same importance and will soon be forgotten. There will be no effort to make, just let go of what leaves and embrace everything that comes along. This will also be done automatically, as soon as you have experienced it in your flesh and in your life. You can only celebrate permanently, in Agape and with each other, one and the other, on all occasions, but also walking in your cities. You can't escape it. It will change all your relationships, it will question you about this feeling of unreality, about how life behaves, in society as in your family, with your spouse or children. Love will become predominant, you will not be able to do otherwise. What may have seemed unresolved will resolve itself. The miracle will be instantaneous, daily, permanent. It will no longer even depend on what you call Agape, nor even on the fire of the Sacred Heart triggered at certain times, even if I know perfectly well that Baidu has launched a particular process with Ebo every day. And tonight, we are joining them, and we invite you, everyone, wherever you are, to join us with the same intensity. You will have the same efficiency. Try it, and observe. We hope that more of you will attend our appointments every day. Whether or not you are busy will not change anything, because this, too, is automatic. Soon, even if you want to turn away from it, you will not be able to ignore what you are living. You will all become sensitive. You will feel what has been called crowns. You will feel what has been called stars and gates. You will feel important changes, not only in the regulation of your body functions, but by new perceptions of what you might call energy, but which is ultimately nothing more than a permanent installation, and in a constant and increasingly clear way, of the intelligence of the light through your cells as through the body of eternity. The visions will disappear. You will no longer be able to maintain them. You will no longer be submissive or subject to them. You will rediscover humility and simplicity, because you will discover that it is only in these moments that you are whole. The path of childhood will take on its full importance. You don't even have to make an effort to understand its meaning. You just have to let life unfold. Everything that seemed delicate to you just now will vanish by itself. The miracle will be permanent within you, without recourse to any external authority, any energy transfer or any appointment whatsoever. The celebration will become perpetual. The awakening will become more and more massive, whatever the circumstances of your countries and your families. Silence. We are with you, we are in you. The modulations, which some people among the human brothers perceive, whether by the sounds heard in the ears, by the vibrations that run through and envelop you, giving you the feeling of disappearing into the infinite space, a truth and reality. This is how you will come out of the dream, at the end of the event, without any suffering, without any question. Whatever still stands out in your lives, in your body, in your countries, simply remember that the quieter you are and the more you embrace, without preconditions, without posture of your head or without remembering any habit whatsoever, you will see the greater and greater freedom and endless state in which you will be. It is no longer just ecstasy, it is no longer just joy, it is no longer just the bliss of the evident, but it will be the simplicity of the child. This will be the joy of speaking, the joy of keeping quiet, the joy of taking the hand of a brother or sister, the joy of exchanging words in any encounter. All the circumstances of your lives will lead you to this. Silence. Whatever you tell me today, even if you don't understand its meaning, it will make sense to you very quickly. Do not lose any opportunity to love, not by any will, but by simply being available at the moment, available as it unfolds on the external screen, in the course of your days. Whatever the task, whatever the difficulty, it is precisely what you need to find yourself in totality. Play in the game of truth, play in the game of life, play in the game of acceptance, of embrace, places you definitively in the heart of the heart, in the sacred radiance of your heart. The tetrahexadron, the one that corresponded to the heart of eternity, now unfolds like a cone of light with 24 beams of light, touching once again all that you look at, all that you think, and all the sufferings that you can experience in you, as you also on the sufferings observed for any brothers and sisters, even if they are the opposite of where you are on this planet. Everything will therefore be done in the same way, whatever the circumstances, whatever the suffering, whatever the expectations, or whatever the despair. Nothing can stop Agape, nothing can stop the fire of the Sacred Heart, not for a few awakened brothers and sisters, but for all the consciences of creation. You see it in your heavens, you see it on the signs of the earth, you see it in you, you see it in relationships. This will become more and more important, more and more certain, and more clear. Thus will be swept away your ultimate sufferings, your ultimate resistances, your ultimate habits, your ultimate beliefs. You will no longer be able to separate anything. You will no longer be able to categorize anything. The same love will be spontaneous and free, will emanate, independently of you, from your chest, as I have also said, from each of your touches, from each of your looks, as in each of your listening. From the moment you are there, present to yourself, you can only see this. This is done automatically, it is done without you and without us, but is allowed by the communion of our hearts, by the Agape celebration touching all the consciences of creation. Everything has already been lived. You are only going back to the initial and final moment of creation, which in the end never existed, was only a dream. Even if it still seems difficult to you today to accept, difficult to live with, difficult to understand, the evidence of the experience itself will leave no room for doubt, no question, above all, no possibility of evading it, whatever the circumstances of where you live. Silence. There is complete equality between the worst tyrant and the child who is starving to death. It seems absurd in the eyes of the person, it seems unfair in the eyes of the soul, but it is truth beyond the mind. So is the dream, so is the nightmare, which have nothing to do with the truth of the eternal I, of your natural state. This natural state is nothing more than what was defined many years ago as the 4 pillars of the heart, and also illustrated by some testimonies of those who were named the Star Sisters. Spiritual potentials will come into action right here in this world. It is not a question of clairvoyance, gift or power, but simply of embracing love, whatever the other looks, whatever the other says, whatever your suffering may say, whatever your ultimate habits may say. Love is the balm, it does not need you, it is what you are. Whatever you still believe in this form or in this world, it will no longer make any difference, and it already does, to many of you. There is no point in thinking about tomorrow, there is no point in developing concepts today concerning any afterlife, for in the truth of the heart there is no afterlife or before life. You will live it, whatever your visions, whatever your knowledge, whatever your assumptions. No more assumptions can be made, the evidence will take your whole life, many of you are already living it. And you will see that this process will become increasingly acute. Everything will be a pretext for celebration, the look of a stranger, a yoga class, a meal taken together, whether it is even within memberships in certain communities, whatever. You will overcome this very quickly, and you will see that you are universal, that you are no more Jewish than Muslim, that you are no more male than female, that you are no richer than poor, that all this, well, finally, was only meant to make you discover your truth. You will no longer judge the circumstances, you will no longer be able to judge anyone or anyone else, the same love will emanate from you no matter what you think, no matter what your mind tells you, no matter what your habits tell you. There is nothing you can do about it, and you will agree with it too. Every opportunity and every look, every minute of your life, will only be an opportunity to discover yourself a little more each time, to smile more and more often. There will be no irony in it, no mockery. Of course, what is called ego, what is still called habits, for those who have not yet have the opportunity to wake up from the dream, you will find that there too, it will wake them up. You will no longer judge, you will not have any preconceptions or biases, it is happening now, it will be deployed more and more. You will not be able to do otherwise than to share, you will not be able to do otherwise than to help the person who asks for it, regardless of the help that is requested. You will find that the other is much more important than you, because he is nothing but you. This will be lived, it will be confirmed. Silence. You will no longer be able to believe your head. You will no longer be able to believe your sufferings. You will no longer be able to believe what you call leaders. You will no longer be able to believe religions. You will only be able to believe what you live, and it is the same life that is offered to everyone. You will no longer expect anything, because everything is lived and you live it again and you know it, even if it is not yet fully accepted. Everything you touch will be blessed, everything you say will be blessed. Laughter is your daily life, smiling is the permanence of grace. Your touch will be holy. That is what it means to be the worthy burning sons of the sun. That is what it means. You are a legion of Christs, you are a legion of liberated. Nothing can stand in the way of that, no matter what is decided by those who still dream. It is far too late for any reversal. It is far too late to find strategies to fight, as they still think. What you are going through, what you are living is the truth, the one and only. Everything else passes, everything else can only make you smile, even in the midst of the most intense suffering. You will then see the power of your heart, the power of your presence and the power of the intelligence of the light. Silence. All this is already happening, and will be experienced in an increasingly complete and obvious way. We, the whale people, the cetacean people, know the whole dream. We told you a few months ago, we were waiting for the right time, we were waiting for the signal, not from heaven or earth, but from a few humans who had found what they are. This was accomplished a few months ago, and made it possible to overcome all duality, even expressed through your sexual polarity, all duality between the one who enslaves and the one who is enslaved. You are the same, at another time. You will understand the uselessness of combat. You will understand the uselessness of choosing between good and evil. You will understand that you will no longer be affected by any circumstances whatsoever. There are countless of you already living it, but what I am talking about concerns the whole of humanity as well as all consciences. The smile will be restored to you 100-fold, your heart will warm up in those moments. You can do nothing about it because it is natural. As soon as your heart heats up in the fire of the Sacred Heart, as soon as the breathing of the heart is felt, and even without feeling anything of it, you will observe in the other the same openness, the same embrace, even if the other feels nothing of it and understands nothing of it. You cannot therefore do otherwise than to love. You cannot do otherwise than to witness in this love, as I have told you, in your gestures, your glances, your words as in your silences and even in your words, to put an end to the dream of the other. Everything will be done without your intention and without your will. It may seem unreal or too beautiful to you, whatever words have been used. State of grace, fluidity of unity, Christic state, that is exactly what you apply in this world, and I will even say that it applies alone, independently of you. You can no longer be deceived by any false element. There are no elements in this world that are not truly in view and in truth related to your awakening. You will laugh at yourself, you will laugh at life, you will laugh at everything that happens. So, every day, it will become clearer, every day, it will unfold, and every day, we will amplify the unified song of my heart for you, and we will literally nourish ourselves with your joy, reinforcing it every minute, every moment. Everything that was not seen will be seen, but will be crossed without being interested in it from now on. You will no longer need to explain. You will no longer have to determine what to do or not to do. You can only be in harmony with life. You will see it, and you will see it more frequently and recurrently at the slightest opportunity, whether in your dreams, whether it is in what you may think you have to solve in this world, whatever the apparent shortcomings, you will see that it no longer makes any difference. Those who are still in possession and monopolizing the other or money, will only be able to restore themselves. What today seems totally impossible to you, totally opposite, will become your best help. When you see these miracles happening in your life, around you, in you and on the world, then you will only notice that the simulacrum and the sacred are only two sides of the same coin that you agreed to play a long time ago, and that you had to forget that you agreed to play, to find yourself. Then, forgiveness will be permanent, the joy will be total, the consumption will be total. You will embrace the event, the white paradise. You will embrace the black hole not only in the heart of your chest, but as a great song of joy from the whole earth. This today may seem totally absurd, totally impossible, and yet, it is the strict truth. You can only be amazed, you can only laugh and smile at the infinity of what was and is no longer. What seemed to you to move away, can only bring you closer to that. You can no longer judge, you can no longer condemn, you can no longer get rid of anything or anyone. You will become the total gift, first of all your presence, but also what you will think has been acquired and which today represents a weight that prevents you from being totally free. You will be the permanent gift of smile and grace, the permanent gift of your life for everyone else, because then you will know that everything is only you. Whatever you can say about it today, everything that can still be an obstacle to what I just said, it is the only possibility. There is no other possibility, and moreover, you will not seek anything else, because it will be so beautiful, because it is already so beautiful for those who live it. You don't need a speech, you don't need to demonstrate anything, you don't even need to inform anymore. You need to commune, you just need to let life happen, you just need to see that and it happens. You can decree love in the same way that I did decree your appointments. Each of you today has the same possibility without appealing to anyone to decree love, to decree joy, to decree freedom, and it will come true. There is no external authority. Although many brothers and sisters may still have played a special role today, remember that they are only you. There is no enrichment, there is no monopolization, but for the two, a simple restitution, a gift of themselves, because they have seen and lived that it could not be otherwise. You will thus be fully available for the other, available for love and less available for conflicts, for anger, for resentment, for suffering. This is how love covers everything. This is how smiling puts an end to the dream. What may still seem to you today, through my words, to some, as a utopia, is the strict truth. I ask you to verify it by yourself. You only have to decree peace. You only have to decree love, and it is over. Whether it takes an hour, a few days, a few weeks or a few months, does not change anything. You have been reminded for a few years of the co-creator's actions, of exercising or manifesting your sacred masculine, your sacred feminine, and now, the primordial androgyne. You are at the source of everything, you are the cause of everything, you are only love. That is what is unfolding now. The propagation of this good news will accompany the first steps of the event. You do not have to look for the date, even if many of you were warned without our will and without the will of anyone. They were already living this truth so much that it could only be imprinted in their visions, in their experience, even on the level of dates. More and more of you hear the voices, more and more of you observe the presences, more and more of you smile, more and more of you participate in this round, this celebration. Whatever you think and whatever you are still in any denial of that, you can only agree with my words, you can only agree with life and the end of the dream. The beatitude will be such, the smile will be such that you will go through all the person's trials. That is how it is happening right now. Let conflicts break out, whatever they may be. Of course, at first, the one who is part of a logic belonging to this world can only react, but his own reaction consumes him himself and exposes him in the freedom to love, in the freedom to be and not to be. That is what is lived. Everything is only a pretext, everything is only a celebration, everything is only an awakening. You can no longer separate, you can no longer cheat, you can no longer lie, you can no longer play a role or wear a mask. The natural will be your constant state. You will be the revelation of the end of the dream, you will be the event yourself, and the collective event will then be present. Do not trust the dates, even if they are known. Be immersed more and more in the present moment, in your life, in what life asks you to do or to live in order to be life and not only your life. You will be helped in countless ways, not only in your dreams, not only by energies or by the help of certain beings or any brother and sister, but also by yourself, from within yourself. It is in this sense that I ask you to decree love, to decree peace, simply that, and it will be active, putting forward your conscious co-creation, not to recreate some dream, but to establish the truth. You are all in this, even if it seems to you that you are far from it, even if you have not lived anything, even if you do not perceive any sign inside or outside. Dare to decree peace, dare to decree love. It is not an intention or a projection, but you are the integral sovereign, you are the source, you are the enemy, you are the beloved. You have all played at this, and the only way to remember is to decree peace, decree agape, and decree the fire of the sacred heart in yourselves. Eba will be there, Baidu will be there, the stranger's smile will be there, the enemy will be there too, and beyond his will, you can only see what is happening. This is the good news. Even before the visible presence of the collective event, we urge you, the people of the cetaceans, to decree, as we have done, the end of the dream of creation. We invite you to decree peace, to decree abundance without bias of any kind. It is indeed a decree that is law for you and in you. Whatever your state today, decree at each awakening, reaffirm at each awakening, before falling asleep, this peace and this love, to give you love one in the other, one through the other. That is the most important element. You are all powerful. Whatever your misery, you do not need to understand, you do not need other dimensions, you do not need Eba, even if he is there. Be there all the time, accessible. You don't need to ask, you don't need to pray, but to recognize yourself in this, and you can't do otherwise. PHAHAME decrees it for you. The cetacean people support you in a tangible way in this decree. Decree love, decree joy, whatever the circumstances, whatever your country, and it will be there. The miracle will be more and more immediate, more and more instantaneous. You will lose habits, you will lose suffering, you will lose disease, and it will not be a loss. Quite the contrary, it will be the establishment of fullness within the void, where there is no one, in the center of your heart, in the black hole of the heart. The installation of the wide paradise will then be lived as a blessing that has never existed in the dream world. This is very real. And remember that every step you take in your simple life every day on the path of humility and simplicity will allow you to live this decree for any other circumstance or situation. This is the biggest company, the biggest knot of challenges, but the most efficient you can have today. Of course, continue to celebrate, continue to live the fires of the Sacred Heart, whether alone, in pairs or in groups, at the times you want, in utter temporality, in any way possible. It will become your natural state, if not already the case. We're with you, we're with you, we are in you and we are you. There is no longer any difference, nothing can be locked up, nothing can be missing. This is to be lived and, I repeat firmly, accessible to everyone, whatever their location, whether you're a murderer, whether you're a fraud, whether you're an angel, whether you all have the same possibility, you all have the same power of love, you all have the same strength, you all have the same smile. Do it and you live it instantly. Everything becomes a blessing, everything becomes agape in this consuming fire of love that only burns dreams and illusions. Share the fire, give yourself the fire, exchange your glances, take your hands, dance together, be silent together. We're with you at every moment as you are with us and in us. Dare to be this love that you have always been. Whatever the appearances, whatever the apparent difficulties of this world, they will not hold up before your decree. It is acquired in advance, such as the intelligence of the light, even if until today, on this precise day, you have not yet lived anything of it. Silence. Thus lightness takes you and places you in the density of your presence and in the lightness of your absence. You are no longer limited to this body or to any body. As Eber said, you are the temple, you are space, you are the master of time and the master of space. You, yes, simple humans in your miserable life or in your prestigious life, in your life as an assassin or an angel, you will no longer be able to make any difference. That is the beauty of love, that is the majesty of grace. All the rest has been only circumstances, all the rest has only passed. That is the great forgiveness, that is the great truth. There is only one, that is this. Whatever your character, your education or your belief tells you, whatever your body tells you, whatever the fullness of the body or its inadequacies, it no longer makes any difference. There too, as Eber or Baidu would say, don't believe me, live it and you will understand. There is only one heart, one consciousness, and what one is can only come from the one. We are love before the form, before the dream. As Eber said, we have never moved, we are eternity, we are timelessness, we are all spaces, we are all dimensions, we are the executioner, we are the angel. All this was part of the dream. No matter how important these concepts of good or bad may still be, all this is nothing compared to the majesty of Agape, to the majesty of fire that consumes everything that only passes through. Then, I decree for each of you, love and peace, and urge each of you to decree the same for yourself, but also for each brother and sister, for each country, for each monument, for each street, for each tree, for each flower, for each event, whether happy or unhappy. You are all powerful. You are powerful of love. You are the masters of time, the masters of space. There can be no other point of view, there can be no other differences, and the more you notice and live this, the more you will notice that indeed, in your peace, your joy grows, and that all you express could only be love. Whatever resentments may still remain, you can only laugh at yourself, and laughter will become collective. I believe that Eber told you not in a humorous way, but in a real way, that the end of the dream is nothing more than to die of laughter for having believed all this as something tangible and real. Love one another, decree it, and you will be at peace. This is what I had to deliver to you today. It is time to decree love. It is time to decree the end of the dream. Do not ask yourself questions about tomorrow. Do not ask yourself questions about the future. Do not ask yourself questions about the event. We have told you, you are the event. The dream is only a setting, that it Mary's call, that it is the visibility of Nibiru, that it is the sun flash, that it is the trumpets, that it is you who decree all this. Decree peace, decree love, and it is done, and it is there. This is what PHAHAME had to deliver to you on this day and every day now. The impersonal, the choir of angels, the brother or sister who feels most insignificant, Eber, Baidu, the elders, of course. Many of you perceive beyond any archetype, in their simplest humanity, beyond their role in their lifetime. Touch you. You are touched by grace, but do not forget that you are grace, so decree grace. Do not ask yourself questions of definition. Do not ask yourself questions about effects. You are the master, you are the integral sovereign, and PHAHAME and the peoples of cetaceans bow before you. Beauty of creation, ineffable dreamers, ineffable creators. We thank you, we honor you with your presence, but also with all the failings you have been able to live through, with all the suffering you have been able to endure, with all the dreams and hopes you have lived. You are completeness, you are Christ, you are the body and blood of Christ, beyond all history and beyond all people. PHAHAME now lets you digest in a way and integrate what I have just decreed. It is up to you to live it, to you to verify it. PHAHAME thanks you. The people of the cetaceans bow before your majesty and beauty, even if you do not perceive it yet at this moment. I thank you for having heard me, for having listened to me. The cetacean people in their entirety give thanks for your awakening. We are one. Goodbye. Through Jean-Luc Young. Les Transformations. Transcription into French. Agape Team. English translation, LMF.